Now listen, if you're the kind of person who thinks adding Coke to a 15-year-old single malt is acceptable, you might just be the reason this podcast exists. Welcome to the Non-Chill Filtered Podcast, where we unpack whiskey like it's emotional baggage.
Good. Welcome back to another episode of Non-Chill Filtered. I am very blessed this evening to be essentially hosting two classic Australian, I'd say one distillery, but two parts of. I'm blessed with David and Fiona from Hellyers Road. Welcome, guys. Thank you for jumping in.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
You guys are welcome. I know you guys have a busy last few days, but would be in the future. So busy 2 weeks ago, you guys have just launched the 22-year, because it's all that's been in my feed on socials in the last, 24 hours.
Good.
Mainly it's
marketing teams doing their job. Good stuff.
Yeah, we can pay them this fortnight. That'd be nice. But I want to essentially kick it off. If you guys want to do your intros, and then we can roll into your comic book 01 origin story, how essentially, say David, and then we'll roll into Fiona got into whiskey and how you ended up here.
Sure. Sounds good.
Cool.
David, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, my name's David Debattista. I do sort of sales and an amalgamation of everything else that falls into the gaps at Helliers in terms of moving stock and getting liquid on lips for people.
But how'd you get into it, Dave?
Oh, do you want me to do my origin story now too?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose many years ago, I went to uni. And usually when you're at uni, you work in a bar on the weekends because it's a way of getting paid to drink and go out. I studied advertising at RMIT in Melbourne for years and learnt how to sell products to people pretty much. And then on weekends worked in bars and then after I studied advertising, got into the advertising industry and worked at advertising agencies and stuff, coming up with campaigns and ways to sell products. And that was good for a couple of years, pretty crazy, until global financial crisis happened, 2008. And everyone I went to uni with all got fired in about 2 weeks because it's the first thing you cut back on, advertising and marketing. So as such, I started doing a lot more work in bars than I was in advertising. And then eventually, just working in bars full time. And then the next thing you know, started managing bars and then working in bars and then opening bars and did that for many years and sort of found a bit of a niche working in sort of late night hospitality in Melbourne, running large format venues with lots of people inside with loud music and lots of acts and things going on, and sort of found, I suppose, a bit of a way of working where I could sort of package things up and sell them to people and convince them that's what they wanted for a lot of money. Ran large format nightclubs, places like Alhambra, XE54, Miss Collins, places for Crown Casino and stuff as well, and sort of really pushed booth service and all that bottle service type of stuff. And while I was doing that in bars, I really got into whiskey, really liked whiskey. So started meeting people in whiskey and selling a lot more whiskey than probably what I ever needed to be. And then one day when I was running one of the nightclubs, I was like, we should just build a whiskey bar in the front of this nightclub here. That'd be funny. And so I did that and ended up partnering up with the guys from Glenfiddich to do that. And we launched a whiskey bar and did that and went over to Scotland many times and had lots of fun with various people. And really deep dived into whiskey. And as a result, having a whiskey venue in one of my venues. And then ended up going down to Tasmania, even though I've been to Scotland and America and Japan. I'd never been 45 minutes the other way. And went down to Tassie for the first time because my missus, she was from Tassie. So she took me to Tassie for the first time. And the first distillery she took me to was Helliers Road. And we went all the way around the state visiting distilleries and seeing the sites and stuff. And then we had our first kid. And then we're like, maybe we should move down to Tassie and get involved down there. That could be quite good. It's more conducive when you've got a kid. They could have called him Henry, I guess. Not too far from that. His name was Harry.
There we go. Close.
Yeah, we'll take that link. And then, we moved down to Tassie and COVID hit, and it was great to be in Tassie. Didn't really have a lockdown. Yeah, could go to the pub. People were locked up at home and up on the mainland, and got into whiskey, and worked for a couple of years before I met the guys at Helliers, and they showed me what was coming up with the rebrand and the relaunch and the liquid that Fiona was now putting together, which was worlds above what was up there previously. And I was intrigued, and I liked it, like a challenge. So I thought, let's do it, and sort of ended up working for Helliers. So, and that sort of brings us to now, a couple of years later.
Which is a great, I'd say, moment to introduce Fiona into the mix here. Fiona, what role do you play at Helliers, and just how did you end up where you are now?
Well, I am now the head distiller at Hellyers Road. I did start out just on the floor as a distiller in 2021. So I'm a fairly recent addition to the industry generally. And prior to that, I'm actually my trade is as a biomedical scientist. So it's a bit of a jump to go from
I'd say that fitting.
It absolutely does, but not immediately when it springs to mind. Oh, biomedical scientist, what do you do? I'm like, I worked in human pathology for 18 years.
Put whiskey in a transfuser and just spin that puppy around,
Why
and
not?
there we go.
Yeah, so gone
Cask
from
finishing.
maybe trying to save lives to maybe not.
1920s doctors were
lives,
prescribing whiskey. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Very much a scientific background, and during COVID, I suppose healthcare was a fairly hectic place to work. And I'd not long lost my Scottish dad, and he loved a tipple, loved his whiskey.
I'm sorry to hear.
It was back in 2019, so but it's always tough. And my dad and I used to brew beer together in the backyard. I've got some horror stories of the things he used to do with brewing grain and my mother's stockings. We won't go into that. Absolute shocker, but really fond memories of that. And also, like, he got me into drinking whiskey at probably far too young an age. He always thought it was really important that people learnt how to drink whiskey properly, which was with a drop of tepid water. It had to be room temperature water, and he was very particular about it. During those COVID years at pathology, it was pretty tough, and I started looking for something else that might, bring some joy to my working career, and floated in a few different options. But I just kept steering back to craft beer, and then ultimately went to a distilling course in Hobart after I started studying, because being a scientist, that's kind of what I do. I just sort of start studying stuff, and I was doing the IBD course in General Certificate in Brewing at the time. Went to the distilling course in Hobart and met the general manager of Helliers at that time. And he's like, "You're from the Northwest Coast and you're a scientist. And you're looking at getting into this industry." He was quite intrigued, and basically said, "Come up for a chat," which I did, and landed that distilling job. And then from there, just sort of worked my way up from being distiller on the floor, running around that giant plant and into tanks and up onto tanks, and carpeting grain, having an absolute ball doing it. I bloody loved it. Into the role of head distiller a few short years later. So it's been an absolutely wild ride over the last 4 years, but I've loved every second of it. It's so challenging now, being in that role of head distiller. It's more, production planning and managing staff, and it's much more expanded role, and it's really challenging and interesting, and not something I could have ever dreamt of doing previously. So absolutely stoked.
So now that you're essentially running the production side of the distillery from like a head distilling background, how did you find the transition from I'd say like distilling your own stock and getting that ready for future releases and taking ownership of someone else's stock and try and guide that into your new releases. Like I'd say some of the new ones behind me, because you gracefully hooked me up with this glorious 20-year. I got a 21 year as well. How hard are those spirits to work with when you didn't distill them? So you're like, all right,
Yeah.
we've got this product here. Let's
Look, it's always going to be, if you plan to release older whiskey, it's always going to be like running two businesses. It's going to be, I'm making it. That's the pure production side of laying down stock and running through all the quality things and maintenance programs of running a distillery. It's very, very much its own beast. And then the other side, that flip side, is the marketing, the barrel types, the barrel house, what I've got in maturation, and how that those barrels are coming along, and monitoring the maturation, doing sensory assessments, all that sort of stuff. So they're very, very different aspects to the same overarching business. So absolutely challenging to dedicate the right amount of time to both aspects. And it is kind of cool to inherit all that stuff, because you go, oh, who would have been the distiller at this time? Who distilled this? Oh, yeah, they, and the records from way, way back, on paper, shoved in a, the recording of stuff. I mean, yeah, it was recorded, it was all on paper, but when we upgraded to everything being on the computer, a lot of that stuff didn't get transferred. So you've literally got to go sifting back, going, oh, how much did they mash at this time, and what were the spirit runs like? What were the cuts like? So it is like digging for little nuggets of gold when you're going back through those records. And yeah, really interesting to see what they got up to. And they did lots and lots of experimenting in the early years as well. So it's been really interesting to find records of very early days when they were doing trials around temperatures and yeast and bits and bobs. But yeah, down many, many, many years down the track, 20, our oldest barrels now in the bond store are just turning 23. 23 years down the track, it's hard to tie together actually what they did back then as new makers to the mature whiskey, because the mature whiskey can be so varied in amongst all those individual barrels. So it's an interesting journey is the upshot of that.
yeah, it is. Each whiskey barrel takes its own journey, right? Like
It
you'd
does.
see different temperature swings between like season to season, and the distilling practices would have changed as well.
They would have. The yeast strains, the grain varieties over the years have changed multiple times. Yes, they're all going to be similar, but slowly improved perhaps over time for yield and pest resistance, that sort of thing. So there's that variability that's built into the process, but then there's that huge variability that comes from individual cask to cask. So we've got a really beautiful example in our bond store of two casks from 2004 that have spent their entire lives seated together on the same cradle in the bond store, basically in the same location, and they were mashed and distilled in the same run. So it's the same new make that went in, but those barrels are poles apart in terms of profile. So one's super fruity and tropical and amazing, and the other one's got this real leather tobacco kind of note going on, and it's a much, much different beast. Like they're just so different. So then you do all the things to make your new make the same every time, and then the cask comes and just goes nah and take it this direction. So yeah, it's cool.
So interesting. It's like crazy to watch. It's like you did everything right. Everything's the same up until that cask, and that's one thing you don't have control over.
Not really,
because you just got to let nature do its thing.
They're both Jack Daniel's casks from the same shipment, I would assume, probably from the same bond store, and in
same cooperage and everything else. Yeah,
but hey, the timber was different, so you get different extractives. So there you go.
Yeah. It's like different pores within that wood, and it'll just either suck it up quicker or let it sit.
Yeah, that's it.
But I'll throw it over to you, David. How hard is it to sell hyperage whiskey in the current whiskey climate?
Yeah, it's pretty entertaining. A lot of
Entertaining's
the
the
time,
word.
yeah, like a lot of the time we get told, like, I'll go up to someone and go, "Oh, have you ever had Tassie whiskey before?" And they'll announce one or two brands that maybe they've
Yep.
heard of before, but they've been told sort of a story by nearly everybody in the industry. Oh, Australian whiskey is really young. There is no old whiskey in Australia. It's normal to be, whiskey that comes in a small bottle with no age for $200-300.
At
And
2-3 years old, I just
yeah,
want to glass someone. I can't deal with it.
yeah, and like I love a good challenge, but I also love sort of sometimes proving people wrong. So I
Yeah.
love saying, well, actually, let me show you something. Let me tell you a story. Let me take you through, because that's my job. My job is to talk to people. Above and beyond everything. It's always just I get to go sit down with people, talk to them, pour them some whiskey. It's a pretty good challenge to have. I'm not going to complain, that's for sure. But sometimes people will have a preconceived idea. They'll be like, oh, it's all young, it's all no good, or like it's only sold in Australia. It's stuff that's been made in someone's shed. And I go, well, actually,
It could have been.
Distill yeah, could have been. Yeah, there's a lot of the shed distilleries in Tassie. And I go, but actually, the distillery I'm going to show you today was founded in the 90s. We're a purpose-built facility. When we were built, we're the biggest in the Southern Hemisphere. We were built for export in mind. We've been selling whiskey overseas since, 2010s. So it's not like it's something that's only made in Australia. Our brand is sold overseas. Let me show you some things that we sell overseas. Like, I love telling people, not you're wrong, but let me show you what we've got and show you how this story that you've heard isn't quite correct. Let me make you open your eyes to something that's fantastic tasting. So I do whiskey shows all the time. I was in Canberra, a week and a half ago doing a whiskey show, and I told copious persons one after the other, here you go, let me give you a sample of a 20-year-old. And they're just like, what? What do you mean
Yeah.
a 20-year-old? What? What are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, I've got a 20-year-old here and I'm perfectly happy to share it with you because you want to learn more. You want to know about this. You're eager to know. That's what you're at this event for. And let me show you what we have. Tastes great. It's fantastic. It's won awards all over the world and it's made right here. So you get that polar opposite, had no idea that there is even such thing as old Australian whiskey. And then you get the people that may have tried our whiskey once 15 years ago. One of our first releases, in all honesty, probably wasn't very good. So they have a preconceived idea. So sometimes it can be a battle. Sometimes it can be an opinion that I welcome. So I can let you see what 15 years worth of work has now got us to. Because that's how Scotland started. Let's face it. When their whiskies first got started 200 years ago, nothing like what they're producing now. Let me show you the same transition, but from Australia. So there is a lot of conversations that have to be had to get people onto the level of understanding before they even are willing to buy.
It's
I suppose is the answer to your original question.
well, like we know that a lot of Australians have been burnt by Australian whiskey. So it's purely just trying to guide that narrative into a place where people feel comfortable enough to try whiskey. That's where I'd say the whiskey shows are great because you just get plenty of exposure to a heap of Australian brands. And then you're like, all right, well, now you've tried these ones. Which ones do you actually enjoy? And then you can just go in hard and try those. But I know you love talking about whiskey. So did you want to take me through one of the releases you sent me up? What do you have kicking around on your
Sure,
bar? You
sure.
could kind of take me through.
Maybe let's start at the start from the series that
Yep.
we sent you. We'll start you with the Aurora Australis.
Yep. That is, yep, in my hand right here. These are the fanciest sample bottles I've ever seen in my life. These are, that's
They're
going to be,
actually our 200 mil range. So we actually do sell them retail. So they're
yeah.
not made just for samples.
No,
They're
but like,
currently rolling their way up onto the mainland in gift packs and in individual representation as well.
It is the coolest way to receive a product, though, because you get brands that are like, oh, yeah, we'll knock out a 200 ml sample and it's got this sticker on the front and it's like below average on the like time and effort put in, the thought put into like a 200 ml sample is incredible. Like it's all marked on the front. There's a like marked as in branding on the front. It's all, I love it. Yeah. All right. I got to
Our
get a glass.
CEO Derek would probably never allow us to send out a sticky tape labeled mini bottle for a tasting for just this occasion. Someone holds that up to a camera, he'd be like, "That's why we don't."
That is,
So
yeah. No, spot
a lot
on.
of work did go into that branding.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm sure many people remember the old Helliers Road branding, tall, thin bottles, with the men and the dog on the label, and that liquid in those bottles was in there for nearly 20 years. And, when we see these big brands over in Scotland like Glenfiddich, Macallan, everyone, they update their packaging these days about every 6, 7 years, it feels.
6-7 months. What are you talking about?
Yeah, true.
It's just like,
So
yeah,
it
new
was
release, sure.
definitely due for an update. So that the effort that went into the rebrand, into the full size bottles, into those mini ones that you see there, and just the imagery and everything that went into it has done leaps and bounds a lot of the work for us to reposition the product back into market. And now with Fiona's blending and distillation going into these liquids as well, that has now brought the liquid up to the level of which it's now represented as well. So it's definitely seen a marketed shift in the last few years of in-market visibility and appreciation now.
I realize I don't have any nails and I'm trying to open this plastic cap.
That's plastic cap.
Just started- yeah, that's how I get it
The
done.
tamper seals are a necessary evil, unfortunately.
No, you know what? I'm all about it. It is
Yeah.
secure just to keep me out, I guess. That's, as I did
Well,
say,
we do,
childproof, so...
We do those little bottles, those 200 ml bottles, with a partner of ours, the Tasman down in Hobart,
There we go.
beautiful hotel, and they love those tamper seals because their room service can know as soon as they look at the bottle whether or not someone's opened it straight away,
Amazing.
It's not
and they know
Peat
to
in
bill
there.
that client's
No one's
credit
put
card as a
salty in
result.
So
This Aurora
sorry.
Australis,
Yeah.
you tell us all about the liquid fee because you're the one that made it.
Sure. So this one, we call this our breakfast whiskey. I don't know if you're familiar with the term breakfast whiskey, but it's the whiskey for all
All about
occasions, essentially. So it is slightly lower in alcohol than our sort of house alcohol content. So it's down at 40%. Our normal house ABV is 46.2. So a little bit lighter on the alcohol, and it is made to be infinitely approachable, hence the term breakfast whiskey, but B, at a price point below $100, so that it's about getting that liquid on lips, encouraging Australian consumers to give the brand another crack and taste the new Hellyers Road. So this is an American oak base in this whiskey, predominantly American oak matured whiskey, but with a sprinkling of different finishing casks that give it a little bit of zhuzh, and it's like going to your spice drawer. I always say this about the two whiskies, Roaring Forties and Aurora Australis. It's about going to the spice drawer in your kitchen and deciding, I'm going to cook a curry maybe, or a bolognese. Two quite different whiskies, but they've got those different finishing casks in them that give them that take them in a different direction. Those two whiskies, but they're essentially the same American oak base. So I can tell you that the Aurora has a tiny pinch of about 4.5% of Vinsanto cask finish. These insanely lush Italian dessert wine, tiny little 50-litre finishing casks that were absolutely bonkers when they came in. They were just super sweet and crazy. It's got a pinch of that. It's got some French oak finishing in there to give it a little bit more structure. Those French oak tannins giving it a little bit more structure. It was a little bit sort of Derek's term flabby without that French oak to sort of give it that structure. What else has that got in it?
French oak is great for structure, though.
Absolutely.
Just kind of brings it all back in.
Yeah, and it has one that you will not have heard of, I doubt, Canadian barefaced whiskey finishing. So they use 3 different cask types in their whiskey, and the finishing cask. Oh, really? No way! That's so cool.
Here's one I prepared earlier.
Amazing. Very cool.
I could probably tell you the cask types they use, but that's just
they use
the
like
nerd in me.
Hungarian oak, red wine cask. So the casks that we had for finishing were the red wine portion, or that portion in its journey. But had obviously had their whiskey in it, which gives it this nice little icing sugar, real little sweet icing sugar note. So it's, as I said, infinitely approachable, great price point, and a great way to introduce people to the Hellyers Road brand.
It's so interesting you said icing sugar, because I was nosing it. I was like, I thought it was a cherry ripe, and I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's a cherry ripe. And then you said icing sugar, and I'm like, oh, it's a whole different ball game now.
Okay.
I'm like, maybe now it's like, I don't know, it's more like a mound of icing sugar, and it's like, I don't know, a little bit of coconut going on there.
Yep.
Like,
yeah. And
that is,
Fiona touched on it there. Like, this is designed for people to step into the brand again after maybe trying it a long time ago, probably buying a cheap one that wasn't very nice and going, oh, that was no good, and never coming back to it. You know, we wanted to give them an easy entry into the category. And for Australian whiskey, that usually revolves around price. Let's face it. You know, people are afraid to test an Australian whiskey because chances are it's stupid expensive. So, I mean, this, like Fiona touched on quickly, this is a 700 ml bottle. Helliers Road have always filled into 700 ml bottles. The Aurora Australis here, 700 ml on shelf, $99 for 100% Tasmanian single malt too. This isn't a blend. It's not mixed in with any grain spirit or anything like that. This is 100% made at the distillery and then blended by Fiona at the end. So we're representing good value to people, you know, because we're giving them 700 mils of Tasmanian whiskey at a price approachable point. Yeah, it's my job to go see venues. I'll tell them, make a whiskey sour with it. You don't have to be precious. You know,
no.
This comes in, you know, it's like $3.80 a shot, LUC. You know, you can play with it. Don't be afraid, oh, you know, it's Tassie whiskey. You can only have it neat, you know, with one tepid water drop, like Fee was saying. You know, this is designed for people to really play around with. I do whiskey sours with it. You know, it's really, really fun. Have it in a mixer, whatever. You know, as long as you enjoy it, that's what counts. And I think that's part of where that success lies, because it's a good price point. But when people try it, they go, oh, it's actually quite approachable. I don't mind that. It's nice. It's good. It's there. It ticks all those boxes. So for me, it's a game changer conversation, because I can say, here's a Tassie whiskey that's not going to cost you the earth.
Well, the Australian palates are so sweet as well. So the fact that you're bringing them in and you're like, all right, we've got all these different kinds of sweet casks going on, and it's really, I'd say, softening that malt. Because once again, I don't drink. Well, I drink a little bit of Australian whiskey, but it's like, as you can see, there's bourbon behind me. It's like, it's sweet palate. So it's like, all right, we're using these bourbon casks. We've got a little bit of sweetness going on here, and it's like, oh, okay, this is actually approachable for me. It's like, this is actually something I can sit on, and that's not going to essentially blow out the palate, and you're not going to be able to go to something else next because you're like, the palate's cooked for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
High praise is what I'm saying. Well done.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
No,
so
Fiona did a good job, considering this was something we only introduced at the start of the year, wasn't it, Fee?
Yeah, we'd been working through all the sensory and sort of blind tasting for a few months to sort of perfect the 2 whiskies, Roaring 40s and Aurora Australis, for this sort of project to get this launched in this year. And that was great fun to actually send out. We did a competitor set tasting over Christmas, which was really, really interesting, to send out a bunch of our whiskies mixed in with Scottish whiskies and some Australian ones, and see, you know, where do we sit? It was all blind tasting, and no one knew what they were tasting. They all had to, enter in the little codes on the bottles and do it that way. And it was really exciting for me to get that sort of validation. Yes, we're on the right track with these whiskies. They're grading really well against a whole range of Scottish and Australian whiskies. Let's roll with it, because the price point for our whiskies was way below any of the Aussie whiskies that went into that blind tasting. So we're definitely on the right track.
No, that's great. It's such a approachable whiskey. A great way to kind of open people's minds back into the fold now.
Awesome.
Going, hey, let's try that. Thank you for sharing that one with me. What should we move to next? Because I'm very curious. Like, if that one is opening up.
We had Aurora Australis, then we had the Peated 7-year-old and the Oloroso 10-year-old. And then we go up to the Voyager. So I would probably say let's park the Peat to the end.
Yep.
And go to the Oloroso 10-year-old. What do you reckon?
Done. Use my handy card here to open the coffee back up. God, these seals are great. Yes.
Keep our warehousing team happy at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
They did their job well. I suppose it's a good point to touch on too, because we're talking about age previously, about those older whiskies, and this whiskey that we're about to pour once you get through that indestructible seal.
No, it should off. I'm just trying to make sure I can put the cork back in the glass. Let me rinse.
This whiskey, the Oloroso Jerez, this is 10 years of age. This is still part of our core range, though. So even though this is 10 years, by most Australian whiskies, this would be considered old. For us, this is part of our core range younger set that we put out to market. So we're quite lucky, and Fiona will touch on it, because no one knows the casks better than Fiona. If I need to get to any, I have to get through her. But like, this is, something of what I'm quite lucky. I'm spoilt for riches to have a 10-year-old Australian whiskey that I can offer to people at a really competitive price point, and the liquid speak for itself.
I was going to ask,
think sets Helliers apart.
What is the bond store mainly made up of then? Because obviously you've inherited a lot of casks from previous generations, and now I'd say your core range is now 10, and you said it's on the younger side. Where are you guys kind of sitting?
As in age statement wise throughout the bond store.
Age statement wise, yeah.
Definitely, it's been an interesting business over the years, I guess, because they did have a hiatus, or not a complete hiatus, but they did have a period where they didn't produce a lot. I don't know if you know the full history of Helliers, but it was actually started by the Buttermilk Co-op. So they actually had the milk company for most of the time. That portion of the business was sold off in 2019. So at various times their focus shifted back to that business, which was the breadwinner. So most distilleries these
Milk
days,
winner.
Sorry?
Milk winner.
Yeah, that's it. So, they...
What was the other company?
So most distilleries would have gin or something as their cash cow while they wait for their brown spirits to mature. Not cash cow, but you know what I mean. Like, it's their
cow.
cash flow. Cash flow, yeah.
Yep.
So, and for Helliers, it was better milk. So at various times through the history, they've sort of refocused back on milk and sort of parked the distillery for a bit. So there's a lot of old stuff, and there's a bit of a gap. And then there's from 2014 on, there's again a steady increase in production through to the last couple of years. We've smashed our KPIs and laid down loads of casks. So yes, there's a lot of young stuff in our bond stores, and there's a lot of old stuff, but in between there is sort of interesting period of not a hell of a lot, to put it plainly.
As it happens, though,
It does. There's many other distilleries would understand the pull and push of, can I afford malt? Can I afford yeast? To run our distillery, because we have an electric boiler, it's at the moment 40 grand a month in electricity just to turn the thing on.
Wow.
So
that's mental.
Quite aside from we mash in 5.5 ton of malt per run, and that's twice a week, plus the yeast costs. It's an expensive business to lay down casks and then sit on them for as long as we do.
You're better off
What's
selling milk.
the saying, Fee?
Maybe.
When the stills get turned on, the town knows.
Yeah.
We pull that much power and that much water, it kicks.
Yeah. And we'll get to it later on when you have a look at the whiskey cream. But these days, the whiskey cream is, I suppose, what brings in that steady income to allow us.
I was going to touch on that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk about that when you get to taste it, I suppose. But yeah, so we still
amazing
keep those dairy roots going with the whiskey cream.
So take me through this Oloroso cask. It's Oloroso's one of my favorite cask finishings.
This is not a finishing though. Yeah.
This is full maturation. I like it.
Full life maturation in Australia. So you have to understand the differences that our climate has on whiskey. It's not the same as a sherry cask out of Scotland. Very different. But they full life maturation in 250 litre legit Oloroso casks. Came over in a big shipment in 2014. I have seen the meeting minutes where they're all fretting about, oh my God, these casks are so expensive, they better be bloody amazing. And then they just filled them straight up with new make. Amazing. Such a great thing to do. Yeah. And we've got a big packet of Seppeltsfield Tawny Port casks at the same time. So in 2014, there's this bonkers package of fully matured port and sherry casks. So a few years ago, we released this as a 7-year-old, our 7-year-old sherry, and in a short 3 years, the whiskey has changed so much. So the 7-year-old, in my mind, was quite bright and fresh, and it had some sort of sharp corners in my mind and the tasting. But now 10 years later, this whiskey has got old and fat, and it is just loaded with umami and a really rich palate. So it's bonkers.
Say that nose is so
huge.
Creamy.
It's a huge whiskey on the nose and palate. So
where did you guys source your cask from, if you know?
I don't know the bodega, for these casks. So, again, record keeping, somewhat. I could have another dig. I'm sure there's something somewhere, but they're
delicious.
They're relatively unmarked, these casks. They're not stamped. So, yeah. And there's a smattering of PX casks in amongst them too, and you only know they're a PX by a stamp on the back of them.
Yeah.
It's random.
A lot of people's wanting to know about their specific sourcing, I think, works when you're buying maybe a few here or there. You're calling an old chap that and you're like, hey, I've got enough money to scratch together for 2 or 3 casks. What can you get for me? But like, I've seen it even like last November, we had a huge influx of casks come into the distillery, and I made sure I was there that day. And literally these shipping containers, 40-foot shipping containers, come in, they get pulled off the back of the truck. The seal gets cracked, the doors open, and you look in, and there's 300 casks crammed into every nook and cranny. The doors open, the casks are about to fly out at you. They're that tightly in, because these cask brokers that we use and these people that source these casks for us, they're sourcing from here, there, and everywhere. We're filling every inch of that container. So, we're not going to say, I only want casks from such and such.
Yeah.
We need volume. When Fiona does a full mash in, you're filling what? up to 30 200-litre casks per
A
spirit
week.
run
Yeah, a
when
week.
it's
No, it's
full.
per
Yeah.
week. Yes.
Mental.
Yeah, that's
So
over 2
we're
months.
not looking at just one or two here or there. Fiona needs to move that new make into wood straight away.
Yeah.
So we need
So,
volume. So
yeah,
we're
and
getting lots of types.
it's the tricky thing about being on the other side of the world too. You are reliant on brokers to do the right thing, and also the bodegas on the other side of the world to also do the right thing. So, yeah, I can't say too much about the cask from 2014, but I do know the whiskey is fantastic. But otherwise, cask sourcing, we do have partners that we've worked with for 20 odd years for bourbon cask sourcing, so that's quite steady. And since 2016 for bourbon casks, we've been sourcing Heaven Hill A grade select bourbons. But yeah, the sherries.
Heaven Hill's such a great distillery to source barrels from as well. So
yeah,
Kelvin does some incredible work.
Yeah, nice. But
How
yeah,
good was
the sherry
that
and the
container?
bodegas, different story. So yeah, sherry casks.
Hey, what about that American oak container last year in November? I remember we opened it up and it was like all those Barton casks, and then there was like Buzzard's Roost and
Oh, that was
Sagamore Spirit
yeah.
casks, and
So
like so many different things. It was like a candy store. Fee and I were rolling in. That was hot as fuck, and we're like wheeling casks out into the courtyard. We're like looking at the heads, going, "What's this one? And what's that one? And what's this?
yeah,
Oh my god!" I'm sending pictures to. Remember sending pictures to Ray at Barrel and Batch, going, this distillery, is this any good? What about this? Is this any good?
so
And it
again,
was just, it was crazy.
we had to go through a barrel broker. There was a period, I think, last year where in the States, they were holding on to their barrels and not wanting to let them outside the country. They were trying to, I think it's part of a bit of a plan. It's really annoying.
You're back.
Goodo. Yeah, so part of a bit of a plan to kind of pull things back to the States and not let those casks offshore, because they've got other spirits industries that are now sprouting up and using those ex-bourbons in America. So they necessarily don't need to send them offshore. So, yeah, there was a problem getting casks last year. So we did get that load through a barrel broker. But it was really cool because those Barton casks are amazing. Can't wait to see those come to maturation. Yeah.
What would be your full cycle on, say, that Barton barrel? Would you just go in and taste it and see where it's kind of sitting? Or would you say, all right, look, we're going to run it for, say, 10, 15, 20 years?
Excuse me, sorry. So we'd probably start looking at them at that 4-year mark. So we'll probably park them for at least 3 years and not probably look at them. Warehousing, I mean, you know what moving barrels around is like. It's a bloody nightmare for there's a lot of man hours.
It's like 500 and some kilos.
Yeah,
no thanks.
and just it's all on racking. It's got to go into a warehouse. You've got to pull it all out with a forklift, and it's not the easiest thing in the world just to go and I'm going to go sample some barrels today. So yeah, probably 2 or 3 years we'll park those casks and in one of the off-site bond stores, not look at them, and then at that 3-year mark we'll start sampling and assessing and seeing how they're travelling. So one of the advantages, obviously, in the off-site bond stores in Tassie is that they're the good old tin shed. So they've got a bit more of that diurnal variation in temperature. They're nice and close to the ocean, so we get that nice salinity and exposure to Bass Strait, which is the ocean out the front, which is pretty tumultuous and crazy, brings some pretty good weather. So we like the influence that has on our whiskey. So yeah, it's a completely different maturation environment to what we have on site, which is big concrete bunker, essentially, the on-site bond stores. So a lot of the old stuff's been pulled back to the on-site bond store to sit and chill out in the nice cool depths of our racking. So that 3-year mark, we start looking at them, and potentially on how they're tracking, they might get used for, or go into finishing casks to be prepared for something like Aurora or Roaring 40s, or at that 5-year mark, we'd be looking at putting them into finishing for double casks. So they'd be going into the ex-Pinot Noir casks from around the state. And if they're really exceptional, we might earmark them to sit as a single cask and see how they're travelling at that 8 or 10-year mark, and see if they're still tracking as maybe single casks. We'd leave them and earmark them in the register as potential single cask. Hold on until X date to assess again. But if they're not earmarked, they're generally fair game to go into a finishing or something else. But we do keep a whole chunk as straight American oak for, either single cask or a straight American oak release.
No, it's great. I was going to ask you, the Oloroso 10-year, it's bottled at 46.2%. What made you decide that was the perfect bottling strength?
Well, that's an historical thing for Helliers. That's our house ABV. But it's above that magic 46% mark, which limits the amount of flocking. So we not non-coloured and non-chill filtered in any of our whiskies, which is going to be interesting actually for the Roaring 40s and Aurora that are lower in ABV, to see how they go with flocking. But it's just to minimise the amount of flocking that we get from those heavy oils and things coming out of the wood, and also from the distillation. So that's that magic alcohol that sort of helps to keep those compounds in suspension versus clumping them up.
I get that.
I tell you, you've got to see these bond stores too, Jez. That is what got me over the line in the end to go and work for Helliers. Like when you stand in Bond Store 1, so that's the one at the distillery, there's over 2,400 casks in there. They're all full-size casks too. That's not, little dinky ones. That's 200 litres and above. You stand there and you look at the cask heads that go, I don't know, how many barrels high is it, Fee? Like, I don't even know.
Seven high, 7 deep are the rows on one side, 5 deep on the other. So there's a lot of casks in that room. Yeah. And
you
some
look
of the
at
oldest
that is
whiskey.
Exactly. That's the distillation history of Australia in there. Like you stand up there and you look at casks that are from 2002, 2003 that are still aging away in there, and you're just like, oh shit, I didn't realize that. You can read the types of barley. The guys put that on the front of the casks. So you can look up and read Planet and Franklin and all those types of things there and literally read your way through the history. And if you understand the codes and the colors and what they mean, even the experiments that Fee touched on earlier, there are whiskies in there that have never been released in Australia before, that still haven't seen the light of day, that types of whiskies that people wouldn't have even known have been made in the state or in the country for that have significant age on them. So that excitement and that depth of history, when people come and do the tour and then see that's where I think they start to realize the sheer scope of the distillery and how it was built back in the day. Everybody thinks everything was a benchtop still. I found this at the local market and started boiling up a bottle of VB and figured out how to make a whiskey. Helliers wasn't like that. Helliers was built by that dairy cooperative that Fiona talked about, with a mindset of let's build this distillery so in the future we've got enough liquid to sell to the world. And when you see it, like the room with the stills and all the equipment in it, it's almost hard to decipher. There's so much going on in there. The stills are enormous. The grain silos, the equipment, the mash tun is an engineering feat onto itself. You look at all this and you're like, Jesus Christ, this is fucking enormous. And it was. At the time, that was the biggest distillery in the Southern Hemisphere. It's
We had
massive.
the biggest wash still until just recently, actually. I think we got trumped by a
Crazy.
rum distillery somewhere. I'm not sure where the rum distillery is, but I know there's one that's bigger in the Southern Hemisphere now. But the wash still is 60,000 litres in total capacity.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it's massive. So, even by Scottish standards, that's huge.
Yeah.
But it comes with a
It's massive.
caveat.
Incredible.
It does come with a caveat. It takes 50-something hours to distill out. That's why we're not pumping out like enormous volumes, because it's literally 2 runs a week is what we can manage around the various idiosyncrasies from the plant, which, they all add. It's like the indelible fingerprint of Hellyers Road is all those quirks that are from that distillery. It's really cool. And it's like, oh, we have to do it this way because of this and that. But it all adds to that really, really interesting and, it's definitely a Hellier's whiskey. People can pick it. Yeah.
Well, I can't believe how good this is. It is mind-blowing that it can sit in a sherry cask for 10 years and still come out so syrupy, and even at 46%, I am very surprised.
We were tipping more of that today, actually, for bottling. That sherry cask. God, it smelled good.
Dangerous.
So
There's
good.
no way I could be. There's no way I could work there. I'd just be like, oh, just a little taste. I'd be cooked by lunch.
If you work there, it's your job. So there it is.
And B, probably just to touch on, so this isn't like a single cask release, right? Like this is done in volume. There are many casks that go into this final blend that Fee's created to create this flavor profile. And like she said, tipping some more just now even, to create more liquid to feed this release. We're not doing this is one batch of 200 bottles. There's thousands of bottles in this. We sell this all over Australia. We sell this internationally as well. So, for the brand, where we've been predominantly probably American oak known, to have the foresight back in 2014 to have bought these sherry casks and filled them in for a 10-year maturation is pretty forward thinking and pretty special, I think, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Well, it's funny you bring up American oak because I have the 20-year in my hands here.
Okay. Is that the Oloroso finish?
16 years ex-bourbon, then
Voyager.
secondary maturation, 4 years French oak.
Oh, that's
French
Voyager.
Liqueur.
Cask. Yeah, Voyager cask.
Voyager, yeah.
Yeah. So this
Voyager.
one,
That is
this won a gold at World Whisky Awards this year. Because we've done.
Congratulations.
This is the third Voyager cask. So we had a series of casks that were from. There's a bit of a story around the Liqueur casks that they were filled into. Frogmore Creek Pinot Noir, and then from there to a French patissier in Hobart, Jean Pascal, who's quite a legend in Hobart for his sort of bakery delights. And he essentially macerated the fruit for his fruit mince pies in brandy in those casks. Then used his fruit, sent the cask back to Frogmore Creek, and they then popped in their Ruby Pinot. And then when they decanted that, then they came to us. So they're
amazing.
Bonkers cask. We recently got another couple of those, and they smell absolutely divine. So the third release. And 20 years
to touch on that, Fiona probably talks it down a little because we're obviously used to it all the time, but this is a pretty bloody remarkable whiskey. I mean, the fact alone that Fiona had 16-year-old American oak casks
just
that she
lying
could then
around.
play with, and then finish in these remarkable casks is amazing. But not just that, it's the fact that she has created this as a series. So there's, like she mentioned, one cask finishes, there's another one ready to go afterwards, and another one ready to go after that, and so forth. This is effectively a 20-year-old whiskey that is part of our core range. So I can go into a bar and go, hey, you want to buy a 20-year-old Tasmanian whiskey? Here you go. And then when that runs out in a year, you want another one? No worries. Here you go. I have more casks from this series coming along. she's been able to create a product that's consistent from cask to cask and something that we can continue to take to market at a very competitive price point. No denying it, it's a luxury product, but this is a whiskey with age out of Australia that's unheard of, that's consistently available. And
And
is
availability is key.
exactly. And incredibly award winning. Like these series of casks that Fiona's nurtured and carried through, just in the last calendar year, 2024 won Best Small Batch at the World Whisky Awards for Australia. It won double gold at the San Francisco Spirit Awards. It won 93 points out of 100 at the IWSC. It won gold at the Whisky Masters over in the UK as well. And then just this one that we're trying right now, which has just only been in market like a month really, that also won Best at the World Whisky Awards for 2025 too. So it shows the consistency across these casks that Fiona's nurturing and looking after and bringing to market are world class. These are getting internationally accoladed as being world class. So there's beautiful indulgent liquid that's just world level.
It's definitely indulgent. I love the nose on this already.
So the next Voyager 22. That's bonkers. Anyway, but yeah.
And we maintain
this
this label
one so far. The Voyager 20 is my fave out of these casks.
Why is it your favorite?
I think it's just reached that like peak pinnacle richness that comes with that magic sort of 21-year-old age statement from us.
It's so rich, it's thick, it's viscous, it's got unique flavour, it's got just layers of flavour too.
Yeah, it's got the influence of that French oak, but it just has that structure and the richness from that sort of interesting history of that cask too.
And 54.7 as well is huge for a 20-year-old. Like,
is it though? So Helliers Road
Not for us.
Helliers Road is interesting. Tasmania and Australia has got its own sort of distinct maturation environments, and we really have a real idiosyncrasy here on the coast in that our entry proof going into the barrel is quite often our exit proof. It doesn't change. So our relative rates of evaporation of alcohol and water must be the same. So they're evaporating at the same rate. We still lose our 3% per annum to the Angels.
I was going to ask.
Yeah. So 3% in the bond store on site, that's the concrete bunker, and 3 to 5 off-site in the off-site bond stores that are, the good old tin shed down by the ocean. So, yeah, really, really interesting quirk of the environment that we have here on the northwest coast. Like, it's really temperate up here. We don't get those wild swings in temperature that they get down south. So down south, they'll be. Last time I drove back from Hobart, it was -3 driving through the Midlands and foggy, and my car fully iced up, and it was just bonkers. But up here, it's middle of winter, doesn't get much below 10 degrees, with highs of 13. And in summer, again, like it's really temperate. Like we get, low 20s is our average summertime temperature here during the day. So it's really temperate and mild, but relatively high humidity, I suppose, as well. So yeah, interesting. So yeah, we put into those casks at close to 70%. So that's not true cask strength, what you're drinking there. So we had to bring that down because 70% alcohol in a bottle is plainly dangerous.
So it was
high 60s,
ludicrous.
68%, I believe, from memory, was what they put into that finishing cask, and brought it down to a much more sensible ABV slowly in cask prior to bottling. So
awesome. It's
Yeah,
exciting to watch it happen in cask as well, because you
yeah. We
see a
try and
different
do
level
that.
of viscosity.
Yeah, we try and do that as much as we can now. For those, beautiful old rare whiskies, we bring them down in cask over a couple of months before we even think about pulling it out for bottling. And our protocols around vatting and marrying and water additions have been much improved over the last few years to sort of make sure that we give that whiskey its due respect and treat it right just before bottling. No point doing all this wonderful stuff and then smacking in some water just before bottling. So
Just get some Mount Franklin and tip it in. It's not
yeah. So
not really ideal.
no, yeah.
Well, you guys touched on how well you guys have played on the international stage. One of my favorite pieces of news was you guys were part of the Rare Hare project that essentially Playboy Spirits was working on. How did you find yourself involved in that?
So that was pretty crazy. They reached out to us. They particularly wanted to do an Australian single malt, or a Tasmanian one, with age, and they must have got wind that we had the volume that they needed. We have and still have 90% of Australia's seriously aged single malt whiskey aged 18 years and over. And you'll hear us say that over and over again because it's 100% the truth. We still have hundreds of barrels in that age group in our bond stores.
It's diabolical.
And they needed serious volume and they wanted something aged over 20 years. So we were able to offer them, that it was a second fill port secondary maturation. So it had been in there for 4 or so years. About 4 years. In second fills. So, it just picked up just enough richness and beautiful colour, 20 years old, and we were able to, weirdly, it seemed so wrong at the time, vat those together and send them across the seas in IBCs, baby, for them to do independent bottling on the other side of the world. It just seemed like, oh my God, I'm sending 20-year-old whiskey in a plastic IBC to America. But hey, it got there okay. And how exciting to see their absolutely gorgeous bottling. I love those Rare Hare bottles. They're just so luxe. So very, very exciting.
Screams bougie.
Screams it, yeah. So it was really, really exciting for us to see that on the world stage. And it's a beautiful whiskey too.
Did you guys see an uptick in, say, international volume? Because you guys had recently just launched in the, say, travel retail space. Because I know Dave was up in Sydney just pushing that aspect of it.
They're sort of two very different channels for us. Like long before Fiona and I worked for Helliers, along with that mindset when they were first building about wanting to create enough liquid to sell to the world, that sort of ran hand in hand with their business mindset of approaching that international market a fair while ago. So, back in the early sort of 2010s period, up to I think around 2012, 2013, I think Fee was when everything sort of fired off with La Maison de Whiskey over in France.
Yeah.
And that market wanted something from Tasmania. And at the time, the only distillery that could facilitate that was Hellyers Road because of that mindset of building enough for the world, going big on that initial setup. So that partnership with La Maison really catapulted the Helliers brand into the European sphere. And that really is what sort of carried that brand into markets that even to this day we learn about. Some random dude in a bar in the Netherlands tags in Helliers Road because he's having one at the bar. And we're like, what bar is this? Where the hell is this? What the hell's going on?
Someone was
You
drinking
follow
it in Ireland recently too. There was someone in a bar in Ireland drinking it. Actually, I think it was my plumber. He's Irish.
I love it.
There's no denying that in the last couple of years we've had some, worldwide economic challenges. So I think, we have done significant export orders through La Maison in the last couple of years, but it's a challenge. You've got to get out there and put in the groundwork. So last year I was fortunate enough, myself and my boss Derek, we were lucky enough to actually go over to Paris and Warsaw and have a stand and attend Whisky Live Paris and Warsaw to just try
It's
and
exciting.
strengthen those brands, strengthen those relationships with La Maison de Whisky and get some boots on the ground over there to do some groundwork to expand that export
You were
opportunity
pouring
into
over there, Fiona, the 21-year-old Collection Foundations bottling that we did for La Maison de Whisky as well, which is another example of just like what we did for Rare Hare. Their markets are demanding liquid with age. And like Fiona says, we have those casks with age, and that's why we can satiate that demand. We can bring them that liquid that the world wants. And we are all for, in Australia, you can get great whiskies that don't have any age, but on the world sphere right now, people still want age. It's what they take as comfort, it's what they take as knowing. And the fact that we can supply that does give us that edge that we're quite lucky to have at our disposal.
Are you seeing that translate to the Australian punters, or are they still
No,
like...
That's a slowly but surely educational piece. That's why we partner with Whisky Live on the show circuit, and we do exhibit those older whiskies at those shows to really educate people. That's my job. I do every whiskey show is what we go around in, and to our CEO Derek's insistence, pour out those old whiskies. We want people to know that those whiskies are there and that we do them and that they are great. Like our 21-year-old peated cask this year won Best Whiskey in Australia at the World Whisky Awards. And that is an old whiskey that's fantastic and sensational, and is available. People can buy. It's a product that's there to market. And it's not a fluke. It's the fourth time in the last 7 years Hellyers Road has won Best Whiskey at the World Whisky Awards. So
It's a very
for
interesting
Australia,
fluke.
So, we're pretty lucky that we have those liquids there. And I mean, heck, today we launched our 22-year-old single cask release. We're just chatting with the marketing manager just before we did this, and she's like, "Yeah, the guys are receiving orders. We're processing them up. There is a demand there for those." So we're lucky, and we're building the brand, and we're building the awareness that is there for people to drink and enjoy. So yeah, older liquid is starting to get good traction locally as well as internationally for us now.
Well, whilst we're tracking on older liquid, I might crack this gorgeous looking 21, which is incredible that it's 21 years fully matured in a bourbon barrel. Like, incredible.
I'm not sure which one they put in for you, to be honest. Can you read the little cask number or anything at the bottom?
I got the cask number here. It's going to be 22. Is that 83?
Oh, yeah.
2283.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, cask 2283. Very good.
Yeah, my eyes
Fiona
are-
will be able to tell you the nerdy stuff about that one.
Oh, stop it.
So just a bit about the nomenclature of our cask numbers, I suppose. So when you've got the 2283, so that's filled in 2002 on the 283rd day of the year. So we use a Julian date system, and it was the first cask that was filled that day, and we probably would have filled 14 or 15 from that run. And ex-Jack Daniel's cask, so most of the casks in our older stock are ex-Jacks. There's a few wild turkeys and other bits and bobs in there, but by and large they're ex-Jack Daniel's. Now
Is that purely just supply basis, or
I think
like
so.
whatever
I think whoever the cask broker was that they were dealing with at that time, I think it was.
That time,
yeah.
21 years ago, like entirely different world.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's all like faxes and
That's it. Faxes. We're talking telegrams. 22 years ago, 21 years ago. It's
crazy,
mental.
Yeah.
I think for a bourbon fan like yourself, it's great to get one that's been aged for its full life in a Jack cask for you.
Oh yeah, it's like just up there as my entire Jack selection.
Oh, nice.
It's big Jack fan, so it's going to be exciting to look into this.
You'll get, all those lovely honeyed notes from the bourbon cask, but also for me, that note of leatherwood honey is one of the quintessential Hellyers Road tasting notes for our extra matured whiskies. I don't know if you picked it up or maybe not in Voyager. So we get that beautiful. Sometimes it's meadow honey, sometimes it leans towards more the leatherwood, but it's definitely always got that honey note. One of the ones
it's like honey nut Cheerios.
That's exactly what I was about to say. So one of the tasting notes I just did for Tasman Cask 2 was, oh my God, this tastes like, it smells like honey nut. The crunch, that sugary cereal that you had when you were 10 years old.
That could just be my glass, like carrying multiple whiskeys. I tried to rinse it as best I could.
Yeah.
But it's like honey nut Cheerios on there.
It's definitely a thing though. I love that tasting note. But also, there's casks in our bond store that get a really uber tropical note as well. So peaches, nectarines, a whole lot of stone fruit, melons.
Stone fruit, yeah.
And, really common tasting note in those older casks is grilled pineapple. Random,
I get that.
caramelized.
That 16-year-old we did had that for days. That was just all pineapple, yellow fruits for days. The 16-year single cask. That was incredible.
Nice.
Have you guys nailed what is causing that tasting note? Is it like purely just the cask or the location in the warehouse, or?
So it's definitely, look, as I said, those casks that I talked about earlier that sat side by side, one of them was super stone fruits and peachy and cray on the tropical, and the other one didn't have any of it. So what do you say? Like, I think it has to be, all those reactions between our spirit, which has, all those amazing array of chemicals and compounds in there with that particular cask. So the extractives, again, all those chemicals, that's exactly what it is. And then they decide to react one way or another over that period of time, which, the reactions form and they can break apart. Again, those compounds can disassociate and come apart. So maturation science is a whole nother thing, and it's so interesting.
Not bioscience.
It's not human and bacteria and like
it's definitely bacteria. It's just a different kind.
Yeah, it's very
whiskey fungus. It's fine.
Bordonia, absolutely.
I think that maturation piece that you're talking about, Fee, is something that will definitely come to the fore in Australian whiskey soon, as distilleries start to get to the point where they regularly start to have to look at things like secondary cask use.
Yeah.
We were speaking about this a little while ago. Fiona and I just put together a whiskey for our business partner, the Tasman, a beautiful hotel down in Hobart. And the whiskey that Fiona picked for their second release, it's a second fill bourbon barrel.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And for Australia, everyone's like, first fill, fortified wine, flavor. So much so you can't even chase the whiskey. This whiskey that Fiona chose defied all expectations. We put down cask samples to these people of port casks, sherry casks, exotic wine casks. And then in the middle, we had this second fill bourbon cask. It was almost like it was making up the numbers to fill in that the tasting panel. And then tasting it with their wine and chef team, they all loved the nuance and subtlety and softness of the second fill bourbon barrel. And Fiona was like, perfect. That's fantastic. That's what I want, because we've got that new make showing through, but it's showing how beautiful the cask was. It's bringing in a beautiful flavor. And it's almost like the term second fill is a dirty word when it shouldn't be. It should be about how well is this liquid put together that it's a second fill, showing all these things. Like, this is literally it right here.
It's I've got it here. Light, like because people get really concerned. They start looking at whiskey and they're like, all right, well, it's got an age statement on it. And then they're like, well, it's a bourbon cask, but it's second fill. You get all the color from your like New Chart American Oak. So the fact that you're rolling through like first fill, second fill,
Yeah.
it's
And look, this is aged for 10 years.
yeah.
You know, and
It's-
this liquid is beautiful in an old fashioned. It's lovely. It's nuanced. It's fantastic.
It's so delicate, that particular cask. I really rate that cask. It's super delicate and floral.
So, you know, we can only hope that as, whiskies are coming along and distilleries are getting older and they're starting to think, well, it doesn't have to be a first fill cask every time. It doesn't have to be a richly fortified cask every time. Let's get a bit of dynamicness. And I mean, 90-something% of all the barrels in the Helliers warehouse, correct me if I'm wrong, Fee, they're built off bourbon casks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that purely based on supply or is that just like palate defined?
Definitely a supply thing. Obviously, the price point of a bourbon is a lot lower than a fancy cask from Europe. We did get, a couple of containers of uber fancy stuff from out of Europe last year with all sorts of different wonderful varieties in there. But yeah, the bread and butter has to be that bourbon cask because it's got the right profile for us. Like it works with our spirit really well. As I said, like those uber aged ones, they're just so gorgeous. You wouldn't want to put them in anything else. Like they just work so well. So yeah, we're very happy with using primarily the bourbon cask to make up that that vast proportion, and then when they're ready and they've got that lovely vanillins and delicate profile, then we can transfer them into a finishing cask or a secondary maturation in a different cask. Why not? Because we're going to sit on it for at least 10 years. So yeah, it's cool to be able to play, but give it that first few years in a bourbon cask and see where we go from there.
No, that's amazing. All right, I might.
How was that 21 for you? What did you think?
That 21. Do you know what? I want to say, like purely subjectively, I think the 20 took it for me.
The Voyager, yeah.
The Voyager. I'm like, once again, it's like that sweetness playing off the back of that, but I guess I'd say the structure of that French oak. I had that right. Yeah, French oak.
Yeah.
And then just additional sweetness compared to like, once again, that maltiness coming off the back of the ex-Jack cask. And then I'm trying to work out how to
And obviously your
accurately
bourbon
describe it.
cask palate note coming through now.
Yeah. I'd say it's like for your 21, it was more one-dimensional as opposed to like introducing different cask types and there's like multiple layers of things going on and then you sit there and that whiskey takes you on a journey as opposed to sitting there and it's like single cask for 21 years and it's like that's the experience as opposed to a journey, which is like a whole nother layer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And once again, it's like different whiskeys for different moments in time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like, yes, enjoyable experience, but it's like great whiskey is like that bourbon cask is just escalating, but it's like, for me, it's more structure.
Yeah.
Oh, it really shows that even though there's only 1 year difference between those two whiskies,
It's worlds
one's
apart.
a finished cask, one's a single cask. The flavors are completely different directions. It's a world apart, 100%.
Which will be interesting to dive into this 7 year really quickly. And then I got to let you guys go because I've taken up enough of your time tonight. I know you guys have families in that to get
Please,
back to.
please crack this peated because this is Fiona's invention.
My God. I'm probably the worst person to try peated whiskey, but I'm all about it. Let's go.
Well, that's what exactly this product is made for.
Okay.
We
I got you.
I mean, Helliers have had, and Fiona will be able to give you all the tech details, but a long history of making peated whiskey.
Mm.
They've been getting their peat from Scotland for over 20 years. Yeah, the peated malt, sorry,
21 years
for over
now.
20 years. There's a long history of doing that.
So
And
our
part of it is to
peated
do with the
casks
volume, I would say, yeah?
of malt.
Yeah, the amount of malt that we use, that peated malt, is in excess of anything anyone could ever supply in Australia. That's why
I
we
mean,
go to Scotland.
we've just secured 27 tonne of peated malt for this year's peated campaign, so it's super exciting. I love the
That's.
peated run's my
Thank God.
favourite time in
I'm
the
glad you're
distillery.
able to secure that much, but I don't know why people want it.
Oh
Why do
no!
you want to try dirt? I'm not sold on the dream. Let me tell you.
Okay.
Well, I think
It's
that's
like
you're the perfect test case. You're the perfect test
I
case for
mean,
this product.
peat
I'm
is
not the
like
perfect test case.
it's like oysters. It's like olives. It's like
Yeah,
things like anchovies. They're the challenging foods that you get
it's all the things
introduced
my
to.
girlfriend loves.
Yeah, you get introduced to them growing up, and you're like, oh my god, and then
Why?
you end up going, oh, I'll try another olive. And I remember this journey as a kid with olives, and you know, before you know it, you're madly in love with them. So we've coined this peated whiskey Gateway Peat. It's like the
Okay.
pot of whiskies. So be careful what might
It
happen.
sounds like a fun uncle at a birthday party.
That's it.
Gateway Pete.
Gateway
Okay, I'm
Peat.
all about it. I'm all about it.
Yeah, so it's
46.2% as well. So
Mhm.
so it's
non-flocking action.
ex. Oh, sorry. Yeah, matured in ex bourbon cask. So it's These ones will be Heaven Hill, and it's beautiful, soft, classic bourbon cask profile with those lovely vanillins and sweetness, and it's really mellow, and just that layering of a gentle peat smoke. It's not a big lager or an Octomore or anything crazy. As I said, it's designed to introduce people to peated whiskey, whereas they might have experienced it in a very, very different way through, whiskies that aren't great, blended whiskies and such. So this is, in my mind, it's one of my favourite whiskies in our core range, and I always have a bottle in the house. Sadly, I don't have any with me right now.
I am. Yeah, sorry. You've been sipping on water this entire time we've been
That's
drinking whiskey. So
all good. So
yeah.
I do this a lot at whiskey shows, and I tell people this is two-stager: fruity nose, peaty palate. You
Yeah,
don't
I
have to be
was going to say
afraid to smell it.
it's taken a second for that smoke to kind of kick in there because I was
yeah,
nosing it. I'm like, no, all I'm getting is sweet Heaven Hill cask. I'm like, there's
yeah,
nothing smoky about it. And you just kept talking, and I'm like, no smoke, no smoke. And then it just like popped, and I'm like, oh,
yeah. You just got to
okay.
give it a little bit of time
And
in the
it's
glass.
definitely opened up. Yeah. But it's like subtle. It's not in your
Yeah, it's
face.
not
It's
in your
not
face.
blow out your palate. Okay. It's like Sneaky Pete might be
Yeah.
coming around on me. So fun
And
Uncle Pete.
and this
All right.
is by design too. Like, we have other peated whiskies in our portfolio that we sell that are big, that are bold, that are over
Yeah.
the top. We did a richly peated 15-year-old release that was like licking an ashtray. That was big, bold, and over the top, like a peat, like
Ugh.
Lagavulin style peat. But Fiona exercised really great restraint putting this together, creating that perfect balance between that fruity nose and peaty palate, where we can literally be at a whiskey show and say to people like, "Oh, you don't like peat? Well, let me just give you a tiny test. Don't worry, I won't hurt you. Just give it a little tire," and they'll try it and they'll be like, "You know what? I don't mind that," and that for us is a win because they were
Absolutely.
so adverse that they didn't even want to try.
Mm.
Yeah, and now they're open to it. They're open to the category again.
There it is. Okay.
Mm.
Once
So
again,
no,
as you said,
great
two-parter.
approacher.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's soft, it's sweet on the palate, but then it's just like this coating of smoke. And it's
Yeah.
not like blow your head off, it's just like a coating, like I wouldn't say a forest fire, but it's like a smoldering campfire that's just been extinguished, and it's like layer.
Yeah.
Makes
And
me ill. describing that. That's not how I describe things, but I'm like, "Ugh." Tastes like
Makes a-
dandelions is like the exact same scale I'd use.
It makes a banging smoky whiskey sour because
Okay.
the smoke's not overwhelming. It's an element there, but still the classic of a whiskey sour is there.
Oh,
But
yeah,
this
okay.
underlayer of smoke. It's really good.
This is one I'd use for a whiskey sour, actually, because once again, it's just that lemon. So you get that lemon tartness come through, and then like that smoke could cut it right in half. Okay. All right. I found a home for it. Oh, amazing.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a sample because we didn't put it in this pack, but I'm going to send you a sample of my personal favorite Helliers, which we don't really talk about too much because it's not done a lot, but it's our 12-year-old American oak, which
Okay.
is, when we do sort of like a batch of it, when Fiona vats together her best 12-year-old American oaks, I call it summertime whiskey. It's light, it's floral, it's bright, it's sunny, it's beautiful. It's a
Yeah, beautiful.
fantastic whiskey, and we don't talk about it a lot because we don't have a lot of it. So we pretty much only really sell it into bars. People that want this good 12-year-old American oak.
It's
But
mental you say that, though, because like you have essentially shitloads of 20-year-old. You're like, yeah, we got 20-year-old for days, but 12-year-old, like, nah, we're fresh out. Got none. No 12-year-old,
It's
but
it's
20,
that section
yeah.
in the middle, that
Yeah,
Fiona
that's
was
right.
talking
Yeah.
about, where we had low runs in that time. We have to covet these little 12 to
Pockets.
15-year-old casks more than we do a 20-year-old cask because we don't have as many.
They're basically banned from us using that age through that period of time. Like, no,
Yeah.
you're not allowed to touch those. They are blacklisted, as our boss says.
Unless
Crazy.
you're a
Like,
really, really good customer.
yeah,
Unless you're
okay.
someone that we need something for.
I got you.
Like the Tasman or maybe Heinemann. Yeah. Something
Yeah, I
along those
got you.
lines.
I got you. Okay. It sounds like there might be a cast coming to Heinemann then.
You may be
Single barrel
very
pick.
correct. Yes.
I got you. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I love it.
But no, I love that you love the American oak cask part because I'm a bourbon cask fan. That's what I tell everyone at the distillery. That's where I live and what I love in my cask flavors. So people that love bourbons, as I obviously do as well, and then bourbon cask whiskeys is my jam.
I'm
No, I
so
can
curious.
appreciate
How
that.
are you going with that, Pete? How are you going with that?
As I said, like it's just on the nose. It's like so sweet, and it's that classic honey note that you're getting, and then it's like slowly evolved to this like light smoke, and it's like it's not aggressive. It's not. My only problem with Peat is it's not something you go like a second glass for.
No, absolutely.
So I'm like, you'd finish a night on it.
Yeah, this whiskey though, I think is one, and that's what I sort of describe to people. Like sometimes you have a big peated whiskey, you can only ever have one, maybe two, but this one, you could give this a bit of a session.
good
It's a
nudge.
sessionable peat whiskey. If you did want to go
I'd
that way,
probably start my night with this in the whiskey sour cocktail.
beauty, awesome.
Which is like an interesting way to kind of start it, and it'll catch people off guard if you were going to serve it. And you're like, all right, well, let's start with something fun, start with something wild, and they'll expect X, but you're like, no, we're going to go throw you into Peat, and they're like, huh?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, I see what you were doing here, and then they're like, actually, it's enjoyable.
Or do what we do and put it over some oysters and have it sort of as an oyster shooter with the peated whiskey.
Yeah, I might have to do it for the missus because you're not selling me on oysters. I can't do it. I don't want to swallow it. She's like, no, you just swallow it. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to chew it. It's like swallowing snot. I'm like, I do that on my own time. I don't want to do it with oysters.
Well, we are very biased down here. When we were launching this whiskey, we launched it. My father-in-law is an oyster farmer, so we were literally out on his oyster boats at dawn, at harvest time, pulling in thousands of baskets worth of oysters, just cracking the oysters out, peated whiskey over the top, tuning it with the boys, standing in waders in the water in the middle of the bay at dawn, pounding oysters and whiskey, and there is nothing better. Nothing better.
Yeah,
that is
so cool.
Mental. Not only am I not good at fishing or catching oysters at that rate, but peated whiskey, I'm like, I'll just stand on the shore and cheer you on or something. That is, I'm like, get it, girl. That is not my life. But I'm all about it.
It's pretty bloody special. Once you've had an oyster from the water it's grown in, you'll never have an oyster from a supermarket again.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah, they talk about these Sydney Rock oysters, and I'm like, it is.
Yeah, they're rubbish.
Yeah,
Rubbish,
not-
Sydney Rock. Nah.
I'm
Tasmanian. That's where it
not a
is.
fan. That's like
Northwest
$40
Tasmanian oysters. That's what you want.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If I make my way down to Tasmania, then I've got to have one. Then it's like it
You
sounds like
make
it's
your way down
tradition.
to Tasmania. You come down. We'll literally take you to the distillery, and then we'll take you out on the oyster boats.
All right,
I literally
we
did
have a
that.
bit of whiskey with it then too.
I did it a
First.
couple of months ago with Ross from Belveni. He wanted to do it. We came down, toured the distillery, out on the boats, oysters straight out of the water. It was great. We're chasing the gummy sharks around in the ankle deep water.
I love it. Guys, I will begin to let you go. I've got a couple of quick fire questions for you though before I wrap up.
Sure.
I know you guys have left me with the this whiskey cream, which is absolutely incredible. By the way, your Hellyers Road cream liqueur. It is. When I was working the whiskey show last year, that was the standout of the show. Every time you guys were there, it was flying off the shelves. I remember unpacking cases of it, and we were shipping it around Australia.
Yeah.
Because it was like in demand. I remember unloading more cases than what I was putting back on the truck for the next show. So you guys killed it. If I can recommend someone buy something, I'm like, it is that. Absolutely. Do you have a quick second to talk about it and how that concept came about?
Well, I was actually really surprised to see how long we've been making it. So I think they've been making it since like 2006. Crazy. I didn't realize that Helliers
Aging
had
it in
been
milk fats?
Sorry?
Aging it in milk fats? Or
No, like just
there's a gag, it's fine.
Yeah, sorry.
Really?
No, I'm like, what? Because my vatting tanks, like my whiskey vatting tanks, are old milk vats. So, we had some repurposed stuff hanging around. So made with fresh cream. Obviously, we had that long-standing relationship with Better Milk next door. So the boys would pop across with their trolley and pick up the fresh cream and toddle back across and make this beautiful cream liqueur. So the secret really is that it does have that fresh Tasmanian cream and our single malt whiskey in it, and it is luscious. If you've ever had, that very, very popular brand of cream liqueur that I probably shouldn't say the name of, and have it side by side with our whiskey cream, you will never go back to Bailey's ever. So we
absolutely
won the world's best cream liqueur last year in 2024 World Drinks Awards. So it was a huge sort of get for our distillery, and what a credit to whoever developed that recipe way back in the day. We haven't really touched it too much because it's just so good.
should you? It's banging.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got our what we call our original flavour, which is kind of chocolatey and delicious coffee, and a new addition, relatively new addition, which is the salted caramel, which is insanely indulgent, but equally good.
I have both of them in my fridge, and they go perfect in my morning coffee. If I want to booze it up, just like throw 30 mils in, like iced coffee, and it is the best way to start the morning.
Yeah, amazing.
It's a beast unto itself. Now.
Yeah,
like it sells itself, to the point where sometimes Fiona can't even get the cream. That's how much in demand it gets.
That
we go through that battle.
Literally, my life at the moment is trying to source cream because it's the cows don't want to make cream or make lots of milk all the time. So at the moment, I'm struggling to get cream supply because the demand is ever increasing for our cream liqueur, which is a fantastic problem to have.
Yeah, I was gonna say you need more cows. That's
that's a problem. We don't own the cows. That's the problem.
They need more cows. Okay.
Yeah.
But no, it's a beast unto itself, and literally like pretty much sold in every damn Murphy's across Australia, all good bottle shops, and we sometimes we fight to keep up with it.
Yeah, especially your
It's
staff just
crazy.
taking some home as well, and to like, be mixing it up. I'm all about
Christmas
it.
gifts every
Yeah.
year. Cases
Oh,
are bought by each
100%.
staff
It's the
member as
best
gifts.
gifting thing ever.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm gonna add it to my Christmas list this year and just start sending it out because, as I said, like I have 2 bottles in my fridge at the moment, and it's so damn good. You guys are killing it.
Awesome. That's great to hear.
But yeah, I'll run through these quick fire questions. I'll start off with you, Dave. In a whiskey apocalypse, all the bottles are gone except one. What bottle is it?
I'd be contractually obliged to say it's a Hellyers Road, but it'd be the 12-year-old American Oak, of course. That is my favorite, as I touched on before. I drink that all day, every day.
But if you weren't contractually obliged in this perfect world?
I have lots of whiskies, as you can see.
Yeah. We play
Probably
by
my
name, by
favorite smasher is probably just Belvetti 12-year. Beautiful whiskey.
Hell yeah. I love it.
Mm.
And what about you, Fiona? If you weren't contractually obliged
Oh,
to say 22 year.
yeah. That's a really tricky one because my experience is not the same as Dave's. I haven't had the exposure to the, amazing array of brands and experiences that he has. Sadly, I'm getting there, but it's a slow journey, as I'm sure you can appreciate. You can only taste so much whiskey in
absolutely.
northwest Tasmania, particularly. Like we don't have a lot of access down here.
No.
So I don't know. I feel like it'd have to be peated. And I do like the. Is it bad to say the Lagavulin 16? I don't mind that as a peated drop.
It's a beast. It's a beast.
Yeah. And if I was talking about our whiskies, it has to be our yet unreleased, but it is in bottle and sneaking its way around to various tastings and things. Is the whiskey that we've nicknamed the Peaches Cask. It's a single cask from 2004, and it's an absolute banger. And it's full of that stone fruit character, peaches and nectarines.
4-2-3.
That's the one. She's an absolute cracker.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Oh, look at him go. Here's one I prepared earlier.
Exactly.
It's coming up with me to
Helliers,
Sydney.
that's the one.
Okay. Let me know when you're in town.
That's the
do.
Absolutely.
Friday.
Done deal.
I love it. I'm trying to work out what I'm doing on Friday now.
It's the Peaches Cask.
Okay. I'm hyped. I'm all about it.
Awesome.
So Fiona, what is your most highly rated undervalued whiskey on the market now? I'd say for Hellyers Road, actually.
Highest. What was it? Highest rated undervalued.
Highest rated underrated. What is it? Highest rated undervalued whiskey.
Oh my god.
Within the Hellyers Road portfolio.
Undervalued. Oh, look, the Peated 7 is just a, I think that's one that's, I don't know. That's a hard question to answer.
I bring my A game. That's
Right. You, Dave?
What about you?
To me, my answer to everything is the 12-year American Oak. That's my answer to everything.
Amazing.
No one knows it exists because we don't do a lot of it, and it's a fucking banger.
Yeah, you've got less than half a bottle there, so it's going to be a sad day when that's gone and you have to flog another one from the distillery. Tough gig.
It's amazing. It's amazing. The day that batch runs out and we don't have a new batch lined up is when I'll cry.
Yeah, there's going to be tears that day. And my final question to round out the night is, if you could share a dram with any historical figure, who would it be and why? Kick it off, Dave.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyone in any period of time.
I would probably
oh my God.
enjoy a good rum cask finished with whiskey with Fidel Castro with a very, very good Cuban cigar.
Hey,
Wow.
that
That's
is. I like how we had that like loaded and ready to go.
Yeah.
Just came to me. Just came
Yeah.
to me.
Okay. Why?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Why Fidel Castro?
I've always wanted to go to Cuba, and I haven't been able to get to Cuba. I love rum cask finished whiskies, and I used to deal a lot with cigars when I worked at the casino, and loved the story and the history and everything that went around with it, and all the stories about that Cuban history. I'd love just everything about that, and I think that environment would create everything I need in one go.
Amazing. I love it. Fiona looks stressed. I'm sorry. You look like you don't have an answer because I just dropped it on you.
Well, it's an interesting question, and
Yeah.
I'm the opposite of anyone who has any interest in history. That is just not me. I'm into bugs and things, so I think it would have to be someone like
Charles Darwin.
or yeah, maybe David Attenborough, for example. That would be an amazing day, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I
I just listened to
the
him.
dulcet tones of David Attenborough. But
Like, stop
sharing
it.
Graham. I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
While he's still alive, too.
Yeah, while he's still alive, that'd be super cool.
Well, I don't think he'd say much when he's dead. So that's, I guess it's Weekend at Bernie's style if you're going to team up and have a dream with him. But I can like just sit there, picture it, and just listen to him talking about bugs. Where he's sitting in like this rainforest, and you're like, this is tranquility. Well, thank you guys for jumping on. I am sorry, we've gone like double over the amount of time I thought we were going to go for, but it's been an incredible hang. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed listening to this podcast. But David, Fiona, anything you want to plug before we get you guys out of here?
No, just enjoy some good
22-year-old
Australian
baby.
whiskey, everyone.
Yeah, and our fresh drop, the 22-year-old American
22
oak
year.
cask. Yeah, single cask, and we're so proud to launch that. Was it yesterday? Today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Last night was the media tasting for it. I believe I saw on socials.
Yes.
Yeah, we've done a few of them. There's one right now in Melbourne in Casa de Vinos.
Ooh.
There was one last night in Sydney.
Yep.
And then there's a few cheeky tastings, and then for Tasmania, it's Tas Whiskey Week. But in Tas Whiskey Week, people come to the big showcase in our big stand. We'll be having it there on taste for people.
I love it. Any events coming up for you guys in any states other than Tas Whiskey Week?
Apart from, we're on the Whiskey Live circuit as well, where we offer the masterclass circuit, so people can come in and try our 21-year-old Peated, the one best in Australia this year. We're doing all those. We're obviously at Whiskey Abbey, of course, which is a great whiskey show. Whiskey up in Brisbane. And then we also do, select product launches as things come to market that we always try to spread the love. And we've got a few more people coming on board with the team soon, including a permanent addition up in the Brisbane market as well, where everything seems to be happening right now.
I love it. All right. Well, I'll add all those links down in the show notes anyway. But thank you guys for jumping on. And thank you both, Dave and Fiona, for taking the time out of your night, because I killed an hour and 42 minutes of your time.
Pleasure. No worries. Anytime.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys, for listening.
See ya.
You're thirsty.
Bye.